The mining station Orion's cradle floated silently above a brown gas planet called Taraxis 5. It was one of those lonely stations where time seemed to move slower than light. The metal walls groaned when the cooling systems kicked in, and the smell of engine grease never went away. To most people, this place was boring, but to Eli Moran it was home. Eli was a human engineer, a simple man who fixed broken machines, patched old hulls, and drank too much recycled coffee. He was tall but thin, always with a smudge of oil on his cheek and a lazy grin that made him look younger than he was. Most of his co-workers were other humans, but a few alien traders and miners stopped by once in a while. Still, it wasn't exactly a lively place. That night, Eli sat in the control bay alone with his tools and his old radio. The system had been quiet for weeks. The only exciting thing that happened recently was a power core almost exploding, and even that was just another work shift for him. He sighed, spun slowly in his chair, and stared at the small holographic mic blinking beside him. It was a universal broadcast line, usually used for miners to contact local traders or nearby cargo ships. But sometimes, when things got too quiet, people used it for jokes, songs, or messages to pass time. Eli leaned toward the mic with a mischievous smile. "Attention, Galaxy," he said in a mock-serious voice. "This is Eli Moran, human engineer, currently dying of boredom. If there are any alien princesses out there looking for a husband, I'm available. Preferably one who doesn't bite." He chuckled, leaned back, and added, "But if she does bite, I'm open to negotiation." Then he hit the send button. The message went out, across 1,000 systems, bouncing from one comm satellite to another. It was harmless, just a joke. He didn't think anyone would actually hear it outside their mining network. He didn't think anyone cared. He turned off the mic, finished his drink, and forgot all about it. The next morning, things felt strange. When Eli walked into the mess hall, everyone was staring at their holoscreens. Some looked confused. Others were laughing. The cook, an old Martian named Harris, pointed at Eli as soon as he entered. "There he is, the galaxy's new romantic hero." Harris grinned. "You didn't tell us you were planning to start an interstellar dating service." Eli frowned. "What are you talking about?" Harris tossed him a holopad. "You might want to see this." The screen showed Eli's face from the night before. His joking message, now subtitled in 50 alien languages, had gone viral. Someone had taken the clip from the station logs and uploaded it to the Galactic Entertainment Network. Millions of beings had seen it, and thousands were commenting. Typical human humor. He offers himself as a bride? Is that bravery or madness? Cute species. Small teeth, though. Eli blinked, half amused, half horrified. "Oh no, who did this?" "Someone on the comms relay probably sold the footage," Harris said, laughing so hard he almost dropped his coffee. "You're famous, kid." Eli groaned and buried his face in his hands. "I just wanted to make a joke." "Well," Harris said, patting his shoulder. The galaxy laughed. 2 days passed, and the joke began to fade from the news feeds. Eli hoped that was the end of it. But on the 3rd day, the mining station's sensors picked up something unusual. A massive vessel appeared on long-range scanners, larger than any ship Eli had ever seen. The readings made no sense. Its hull was absorbing light. Energy signatures spiked off the charts, and even the system's defense AI couldn't identify the technology. "Unknown ship entering suborbit," the operator said nervously. "It's broadcasting an ancient code, V-class." "Wait, that can't be right." Eli looked up from his console. "V-class? You mean, yes," the operator whispered. "Vril." The name made the room go silent. The Vril Dominion was a mysterious empire from the dark sectors. Long-lived beings often called vampires by humans because of their pale skin, crimson eyes, and nocturnal worlds. They were known for their elegance, strength, and secrecy. Humans had very little contact with them. They didn't start wars, but they ended them fast when provoked. The operator turned pale. "They're asking to dock, and they specifically requested human Eli Moran." Eli's wrench clattered to the floor. "What?" The commander of the station, Lieutenant Voss, looked straight at him. "What did you do, Moran?" Eli held up his hands. "I swear I didn't do anything." "I just told a joke." "Well," Voss said dryly, "someone out there didn't think it was funny." The docking bay lights flickered red as the giant ship, the Crimson Veil, descended slowly toward the station. Its design was unlike anything human. It looked alive, as if made of flowing black metal and red crystal veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air shimmered as it neared, releasing a deep hum that rattled every wall. Eli stood behind the security team, trying not to panic. His palms were sweating. His stomach felt like it was doing somersaults. The bay doors opened. A group of tall, graceful figures stepped out first. Vril warriors clad in silver armor, with cloaks that shimmered like liquid shadows. Then came her. She walked at the center, her steps slow and confident. Her skin was smooth and pale as moonlight, her eyes glowing faintly red like molten glass. Her hair, dark as space, fell over a black uniform decorated with a crimson insignia. Every human in the room felt the temperature drop a little when she entered. The lead guard raised his voice. "Identify yourself." The woman smiled, calm, regal, terrifyingly beautiful. "I am General Soraya Viel, warlord of the Vril Dominion. I come to speak with the human who proposed marriage." Every head turned to Eli. Eli blinked. "You mean me?" Soraya's eyes locked onto him. Her gaze was sharp but not cruel, curious even. "You are Eli Moran, the one who sent the proposal into the galactic ether." He swallowed hard. "That was just a joke. You know, human humor. Not serious." She tilted her head slightly. "Your words were broadcast on 12 major channels. You declared availability for marriage with clear conditions. You said, and I quote, preferably one who doesn't bite." The crew chuckled nervously. Eli's face turned red. "Yeah, that part was definitely a joke." Soraya smiled faintly. "It was bold. In my culture, boldness is respected." Eli blinked. "Wait, you're not angry?" "Angry?" She looked surprised. "No. You offered a challenge and I accepted." The room went dead silent again. Eli's voice cracked. "You what?" She said slowly, placing one elegant hand over her chest. "Accept your proposal. By the law of my people, your words bind you to me as a blood ally, a partner of honor. You are now, by Vril custom, my chosen mate." Eli's mind went blank. He felt his knees wobble. Harris, watching from the back, whispered, "Oh, son, you're in trouble now." Lieutenant Voss quickly stepped forward. "General Viel, there must be some misunderstanding. Humans don't follow the same customs. That broadcast was entertainment, not a formal agreement." Soraya turned to him, her expression polite but firm. "Among my people, words spoken to the stars are sacred." The moment he declared his intent publicly, it became binding under the Veil Accord of Honor. To break such a vow is unwise. Her guards nodded solemnly. Eli stammered, "Wait, so if I refuse?" She looked at him steadily. "Then the alliance between our species will be considered rejected." Everyone froze. The Vril were one of the most powerful empires in known space. A political insult like that could damage humanity's reputation or worse. Voss sighed. "Moran, I hope you're ready to be very polite." Eli wanted to faint. That night, the station buzzed with activity. Diplomats from Earth were trying to reach the Vril ship. Scientists were analyzing every word Soraya spoke, and Eli, he sat in his small cabin staring at the walls. "How did this happen?" he muttered. "I was just being funny." There was a knock on his door. "Come in," he said. The door slid open, and Soraya herself walked in. Her presence filled the small room instantly. She didn't look like a monster. She looked tired, kind even, but powerful beyond words. She studied the pictures on his desk, photos of Earth, of his old engineering class, of a cat he used to own. "You live simply," she said softly. "I like that." Eli gulped. "Listen, General Vale, Soraya, I didn't mean to insult your people. I swear I didn't mean to propose." "I know," she said calmly, "but perhaps it was fate. The universe sends strange messages through humor." He frowned. "You're not angry?" "Why would I be?" she said with a small smile. "You spoke boldly. You challenged the stars. That is rare among your kind. The Vril respect courage, and you human have it." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Rest well, Eli Moran. Tomorrow you will join me aboard the Crimson Veil. We will discuss our bond properly." Eli stood frozen. "Wait, what, join you?" But she was already gone. He sank back onto his bunk, his mind spinning. He'd made a joke. Just a small, harmless joke, and now a vampire general had accepted it as a galactic marriage proposal. He stared at the ceiling and muttered, "Next time I make a joke, I'm turning off the mic." Outside the window, the Crimson Veil glowed faintly in orbit, waiting for him. The next morning came too soon for Eli Moran. He barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the glowing red eyes of General Soraya Vielle, the so-called vampire Warbride who had accepted his proposal. When the alarm chimed, Eli groaned and rolled off his bunk. He rubbed his face, muttering, "I can't believe this is happening. I asked for a joke, not a lifelong commitment with a space vampire." Outside, the corridors of Orion's cradle were buzzing with activity. Diplomats from Earth's Colonial Council had arrived through a relay ship. They were in crisp uniforms, all looking very nervous. Nobody wanted to anger the Vril Dominion. Eli entered the command deck where Lieutenant Voss, his commanding officer, stood beside 3 Earth diplomats. A large holographic display showed the Crimson Veil floating silently in orbit. It looked like a sleeping beast, massive, beautiful, and terrifying. Voss turned to Eli. "Moran, the Vril General has requested you personally. You're to board her ship immediately under diplomatic escort." Eli blinked. "What, alone?" The older diplomat, Ambassador Karen Drell, adjusted her glasses and sighed. "Technically not alone. You'll be accompanied by a communication drone and a translator AI. But yes, she asked for you." "Only you," Eli threw up his hands. "Great, the entire galaxy thinks I'm a romantic fool and now I'm being delivered like a wedding gift." Voss smirked. "Cheer up, Moran, maybe she's your type." Eli gave him a tired look. "My type usually has a pulse rate under 500. Still, there was no choice. Within an hour, Eli stood in the docking bay again, staring at the giant red-black ship waiting like a shadow in space. The docking tube extended with a hiss and the air pressure equalized. He took one last deep breath, grabbed his toolkit for comfort, and stepped forward. Inside the Crimson Veil, everything was different. The corridors weren't made of plain metal. They looked like liquid steel frozen in motion, glowing faintly with veins of red energy. The walls hummed softly as if the ship itself was alive and breathing. A group of Vril soldiers stood waiting for him, tall, elegant, and silent. Their armor shone like dark glass. One of them stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Human Eli Moran," the soldier said in a deep voice. "The general awaits you in the Hall of Shadows." "Right. Sounds friendly," Eli muttered under his breath. They led him through long corridors. Everything felt too clean, too perfect, and eerily quiet. There were no loose wires, no flickering lights, no humming engines. It was a far cry from his noisy, messy mining station. Finally, they reached a large chamber. The doors opened silently, revealing a room filled with soft crimson light. At the center stood General Soraya Vielle. She was looking at a holographic map of several star systems. When she turned, her expression was calm, but her red eyes seemed to glow brighter when they met his. "Eli Moran," she said. "Welcome to the Crimson Veil." Eli gave an awkward wave. "Thanks for, inviting me. You may relax," she said gently. "You are my guest, not my prisoner." "That's good to know," he said, trying to sound casual. "Because your guards look like they could throw me into orbit." Her lips curved in the faintest smile. "They would not dare. You are under my protection." Eli scratched the back of his neck. "So, about this whole marriage thing," she raised a hand. "We will discuss that in time. First, I want you to understand my people." Soraya led him to a long corridor lined with transparent walls. Beyond them was the heart of her ship, a vast space filled with floating lights, rotating energy cores, and hundreds of Vril crew members moving gracefully between stations. "This ship," she said softly, "is more than a weapon. It is a home. Every Vril aboard has sworn loyalty to the Dominion. We live in the dark between stars, where light is scarce. Long ago, our ancestors survived by drawing energy from blood, our own and others. It became part of our evolution, our culture." Eli listened carefully. "But you don't do that anymore." "Not for survival," she replied. "Now it is ceremonial. A reminder of who we were. Many outsiders think us monsters, but we value life deeply. Blood to us is sacred, energy, memory, strength." He nodded slowly. "So, not vampires. Just poetic engineers," that made her laugh softly. The sound surprised him. It wasn't cold or distant. It was real, warm, and almost human. "You are unlike any human I've met," she said. "I get that a lot," Eli replied. Over the next hours, Soraya showed him around the ship. He met her officers, studied their power systems, and couldn't help admiring their technology. It was thousands of years ahead of humanity's, but he also noticed something else. The ship was old. Some sections flickered or hummed irregularly, as if the energy flow wasn't stable. He saw maintenance drones struggling with ancient systems. Your ship's energy converters are cycling unevenly, Eli said, squinting at one of the control panels. Soraya raised an eyebrow. You noticed? It's my job to notice broken things, he said, kneeling beside the panel. You're losing about 12% efficiency every cycle. That's why the outer hull keeps dimming. She looked impressed. My engineers have been trying to solve that issue for years. He smiled. Sometimes you just need a fresh set of human eyes. Within an hour, he adjusted the converter sequence and reset the energy flow. The corridor light stabilized and the power readings turned green. The Vril officers stared at him in disbelief. One of them whispered, he did it by hand. Soraya folded her arms. You fixed what my specialist could not. How? Eli shrugged. I just listened to the hum. Machines talk if you know how to listen. For the first time, her expression softened. Perhaps your humor hides more intelligence than most realize. Eli grinned. I'm full of surprises. Later, Soraya invited him to the observation deck. The glass stretched for miles, showing a breathtaking view of the stars. The Vril's home region glowed faintly purple, filled with drifting energy clouds and quiet light. This is beautiful, Eli whispered. It is, Soraya said, her voice softer now. This region once burned with war. My people fought for centuries, defending what was left of our dying sun. We learned to survive the dark, but we forgot how to live in peace. She turned toward him. Your people, however, are reckless. You laugh when others fear. You build homes where no life should exist. You make jokes in the face of the void. Eli smiled slightly. We don't know how to quit. That, she said, is why I accepted your proposal. Eli blinked. You mean that? You actually think, I think your kind has something mine lost long ago, hope, she said simply. When I saw your message, I did not hear foolishness. I heard courage, a man calling into the stars without fear of who might answer. He rubbed his neck awkwardly. Well, I wasn't exactly thinking deep thoughts when I said it. I was just lonely, I guess. Loneliness is a powerful voice, she said. Sometimes it calls across galaxies. Their eyes met. For a moment, the air between them felt strangely calm. Suddenly, the calm was broken by a loud alarm. The deck lights turned crimson. A Vril officer ran in, his voice sharp. General! A ship from the Karth Dominion is approaching, armed. They demand to speak with you. Soraya's expression hardened. Karth, always sniffing for weakness, Eli frowned. Enemies? They are rivals, she said coldly. They believe my decision to ally with humans makes me vulnerable. They intend to test me. She turned to her crew. Prepare the veil cannons. Bring the ship to high orbit. Eli stepped forward. Wait, you're not going to fight, are you? If provoked, yes. Maybe I can help, he said quickly. Let me see their communication feed. The officers looked unsure, but Soraya nodded. Eli studied the transmission console. The incoming signal from the Karth ship was scrambled, intentionally. He began adjusting the filters manually, rerouting power through a diagnostic line. Within seconds, the message cleared. The Karth commander's voice filled the room. Soraya Vale, you shame the Vril by mingling with lesser species. Withdraw your proposal or face destruction. Eli muttered. Well, that's friendly. Soraya's eyes narrowed. You will regret your insult. But Eli had another idea. Wait, send me on the line. She hesitated. You? He grinned. Trust me. He stepped up to the mic. Hey there, Mr. Karth Commander. Eli Moran here, the human you're talking about. Just letting you know. Your ship's targeting signal is looping through your own defense grid. You fire once, you'll fry your sensors. There was silence. Then the Karth Commander snarled. Impossible. Eli pressed a few buttons, sending back their own looped energy signature. The Karth ship's external lights flickered, proving him right. Soraya's officers stared in astonishment. Eli shrugged. You might want to check your math before picking a fight next time. The line went dead. A moment later, the Karth ship retreated into hyperspace. Soraya turned toward him slowly. You disarmed a warship? With words. And a little bit of code, Eli said with a grin. I told you I'm full of surprises. After the alert ended, Soraya faced him quietly. You saved lives today. Eli smiled. Guess that's a good start for an accidental marriage. She laughed softly again. Perhaps not so accidental, he blinked. What do you mean? She looked out the window. Among my people, destiny often begins with foolish words. Maybe yours were not so foolish after all. Eli didn't know how to respond. The stars outside looked endless and strange, but for the first time he didn't feel small. He felt seen. That night in his new quarters aboard the Crimson Veil, Eli lay awake staring at the glowing ceiling. Somewhere above him, the vampire Warbride who claimed him was still awake too. The next few days aboard the Crimson Veil passed like a dream for Eli Moran. A strange, glittering dream full of impossible machines, glowing corridors, and quiet, elegant aliens who watched him with unreadable eyes. At first, most of the Vril crew avoided him. Whenever Eli walked by, conversations stopped. Soldiers bowed slightly to Soraya but barely acknowledged him. He could feel their judgment, the silent question in their red eyes, why him? Why this human? But Eli wasn't the type to stay quiet for long. He'd spent years fixing machines in cold, lonely stations. He'd learned that the best way to survive isolation was to talk, to laugh, to make even a cold engine feel alive. So, he started doing the same here. One morning, Eli found himself in the engineering deck. An enormous room filled with glowing red power conduits and humming machinery that looked half organic, half metal. Vril engineers stood in silent rows, performing their duties with graceful precision. Eli walked up to one of the main power cores, examining its transparent casing. "You know," he said aloud, "back home we'd use duct tape and prayer to keep something like this from falling apart." The nearest engineer turned his head slowly. His pale skin shimmered faintly in the light. "Duct tape?" he repeated as if the words were alien magic. Eli grinned. "Yeah, sticky stuff that fixes anything. Holes, leaks, bad marriages, you name it." A few nearby Vril stared at him blankly. One of them whispered something in their language. Eli sighed. "Okay, tough crowd." He crouched by the machine, checking the control readings. The energy output was slightly unstable again. The Vril engineers were adjusting complex formulas through holographic interfaces, but they weren't fixing the real cause. Eli knew what it was, the same vibration he'd felt before. He reached into his toolkit and pulled out a small metal device. "Mind if I try something?" The engineers looked uncertain. One of them said, "Human technology cannot interface with Vril systems." Eli winked. "That's what everyone says right before I prove them wrong." He attached his scanner to the converter's lower node, typed a few quick commands, and adjusted the magnetic resonance manually. The hum of the machinery changed, slower, smoother, more balanced. The red light pulsing through the floor turned calm. The lead engineer's eyes widened. "You stabilized it." Eli stood up, brushing dust from his hands. "Yep, sometimes it's not about fancy calculations. You just gotta listen to the rhythm." The Vril engineers stared at him as if he'd just done magic. For a moment the silence stretched too long. Then one of them bowed slightly. "Your methods are primitive, but effective," Eli laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." Later that day, General Soraya Vielle visited the engineering deck. Her long cloak flowed behind her as she inspected the repairs. When she saw Eli surrounded by curious engineers, her red eyes softened with amusement. "You are already teaching my crew," she said. Eli shrugged. "Just helping out. Seems like they could use a few human shortcuts." Soraya looked at him for a long moment. "Do you realize how strange this is, Eli? My people have studied energy control for centuries, yet you solve problems by feeling them." He grinned. "Guess humans use heart instead of math." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps that is what makes you interesting." As the days passed, the atmosphere around Eli began to change. The Vril started greeting him instead of ignoring him. Some even laughed softly at his jokes, awkwardly but sincerely. He told stories of Earth, of the blue oceans, the bright cities, the smell of rain. They listened with fascination. To them, Earth sounded like a legend. One young Vril officer named Lirayan asked, "Is it true your world has light for half the day?" "Yep," Eli said proudly. "We call it sunlight. Makes plants grow, makes people happy." Lyran looked thoughtful. "We have not seen true sunlight in millennia." That small comment hit Eli harder than he expected. He looked out through the ship's window, seeing only the faint purple glow of distant stars. The Vril truly lived in darkness, beautiful, but lonely. Maybe that was why Soraya's eyes always seemed to carry sadness behind their strength. That night, Soraya invited him to dine in her private quarters. It was a quiet, elegant chamber filled with soft lights and strange silver ornaments that looked like frozen stars. When Eli entered, he was surprised to see that the food wasn't what he expected. No blood, no raw meat, just delicate crystalline fruits and glowing liquid served in glass orbs. Soraya gestured gracefully. It is safe for you. Our nourishment is energy-based now, not biological. Eli sat across from her. That's actually a relief. I was kind of worried dinner might be me. Her laugh was low and musical. You still fear me? Let's say I'm cautiously terrified. Soraya leaned forward slightly, eyes glimmering. You have courage, Eli. Fear does not control you, it amuses you. That is why I accepted your proposal. Eli blinked. You still think that was a proposal? In my culture, she said, words carry power. You spoke to the stars. You invited destiny. Now it answers, he scratched his head. Destiny has a weird sense of humor. Perhaps, she said softly, but it also has purpose. They ate quietly for a while. Eli told her about earth music, how humans played songs to express emotion. Soraya listened with growing curiosity. Music, she said slowly. We have tones for battle and ceremony, but not for emotion. Eli smiled. Then you've been missing out. He took out his small data chip and connected it to the room's speaker. A soft melody began to fill the chamber. An old earth song, slow and peaceful, played on piano. Soraya froze. The sound seemed to wrap around her like warm light. Her crimson eyes shimmered faintly as if remembering something forgotten. This sound, she whispered. It feels like sunrise. Eli smiled. That's the idea. When the song ended, silence filled the room again. Soraya looked at him, her voice quieter now. You bring light even here, human. My people have walked in darkness too long. Eli looked back, half joking, half serious. Maybe you just needed a terrible human engineer to fix your cosmic light bulb. That made her laugh again. Truly laugh this time. The sound echoed softly through the chamber, but peace never lasted long in the galaxy. A few days later, while Eli was checking systems in the communications array, the ship's alarm blared. The Vril soldiers rushed to their stations. What now? Eli muttered, grabbing his toolkit. The voice of the ship's AI echoed through the halls. Incoming message from the High Council of the Dominion. Soraya appeared moments later, her face hard. The council summons me immediately. Is that bad? Eli asked. She hesitated. They disapprove of our bond. They say I dishonor the Vril by accepting a human consort. Eli blinked. Consort? Wait, does that mean? She gave him a sharp but embarrassed look. Do not read too much into titles. It is a political term. Right. Sure. Political, he said quickly, though his ears turned red. Soraya sighed. They demand I prove your worth or end this alliance. Eli frowned. Prove my worth? How, an exam? A fight? Please don't say fight. She met his eyes. By surviving the labyrinth of shadows, Eli blinked. That doesn't sound like a fun vacation spot. It is an ancient Vril trial, Soraya explained. One must face illusions born from their own fears. Only those with true spirit can pass, he stared at her. You're saying, I have to face my fears alone in some kind of psychic maze? Yes, Eli groaned. Of course I do. The next day, the ship arrived near the Vril homeworld, a dark and beautiful planet wrapped in crimson clouds. Floating high above its surface was a massive structure shaped like a twisted ring of stone and energy, the labyrinth of shadows. Eli stood at the airlock entrance with Soraya beside him. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You do not have to do this, she said quietly. I can withdraw the offer and bear the shame myself. He looked at her and smiled. Soraya, if I've learned anything out here, it's that sometimes you just have to face the darkness with a flashlight and a bad joke. She blinked, then nodded slowly. Then face it bravely, human. The door opened and Eli stepped into the labyrinth. Inside was silence. No walls, no ceiling, only swirling mist and faint whispers that sounded like his own voice. At first he tried to joke. Okay, creepy brain maze, show me your best shot, but then the mist shifted and he saw Earth, his home, his friends, the mining station, and himself sitting alone, forgotten, invisible. You are nothing, the voice whispered. You fix things, but no one remembers you. You matter to no one. Eli clenched his fist. Maybe, but I still try. The illusion changed. Now he saw Soraya, cold, distant, turning away. You are weak, a joke. No warrior. He took a deep breath. I'm not a warrior. I'm an engineer. I build things instead of breaking them. The mist swirled violently, then quieted. A small glowing crystal appeared in the air, pulsing like a heartbeat. Eli reached out and touched it. It pulsed brighter, glowing with warm light. The voice faded. You have faced your truth. When Eli stepped out of the labyrinth, Soraya was waiting. Her eyes widened as she saw the crystal in his hand. The Veilstone. It only shines for those whose hearts are pure. Eli shrugged. Guess the maze liked my bad jokes. For a long moment, Soraya said nothing. Then she stepped forward and bowed slightly. You have done what few of my kind ever could. You have earned your place by my side. Eli smiled softly. Does that mean the marriage is official now? She smirked. Perhaps, but let us see what destiny has planned next. They both looked toward the stars beyond the viewport, two very different beings, standing together between light and darkness. Eli Moran woke up feeling a mix of excitement and dread. After surviving the labyrinth of shadows, he had proven himself in the eyes of General Soraya Viel, and even earned the respect of some of her crew. Yet he knew that not everyone aboard the Crimson Veil was happy about a human being so close to the highest levels of Vril power. The ship's corridors hummed quietly with energy. Vril soldiers moved in perfect silence, their eyes occasionally flicking toward Eli. Some avoided him completely, while others whispered in low tones whenever he passed. Eli had grown used to the stares, but he still didn't like them. Soraya appeared in his quarters, her presence as commanding as ever. She smiled faintly, though her eyes betrayed concern. Eli, she said, her voice calm. Not all of my people accept our bond. Some believe a human consort brings weakness. Eli rubbed his neck nervously. Yeah, I figured. I'm like a walking disaster waiting to happen, right? She shook her head. No, but tradition runs deep. You must earn the trust of the Vril nobility before they fully respect you. Today they will witness a trial. A trial? Eli asked, eyebrows raised. I just survived a labyrinth of shadows. Do I get a vacation now? Soraya's lips curved into the faintest smile. For humans, perhaps. But for the Vril, the trial is as much a test of loyalty as it is of courage. Eli sighed. All right. Bring it on. I guess. The Vril nobility had gathered in the council hall, a massive chamber of black stone and red light. Eli had never seen so many Vril in one place. Each was tall, proud, and perfectly poised, with eyes that seemed to glow from within. As he entered, whispers filled the air. Some looked skeptical. Others openly scowled. Eli felt like a small candle in a cathedral of ice. Soraya stood beside him. Do not fear them, she whispered. They judge based on deeds, not words. Show them who you are, human. Eli took a deep breath. Right, who I am is probably a disaster magnet. But okay, let's do this. The council leader, High Chancellor Vera, addressed him. Her voice was sharp and commanding. Human Eli Moran, she said, you claim the honor of being consort to General Soraya Viel. Many here doubt your worthiness. Today you will demonstrate your loyalty and intelligence through the test of Veil challenges. Eli's stomach sank. He had faced illusions in the labyrinth, but this was politics, Vera continued. The test is simple in principle. You must navigate 3 trials, each designed to challenge your mind, your courage, and your trustworthiness. Fail, and the council will demand the bond be broken. Eli blinked. 3 trials. Sounds fair? Totally fair. The first trial was the Hall of Mirrors. Eli stepped into a long corridor where the walls shimmered like liquid silver. His reflection multiplied infinitely, each mirror showing him with different expressions. Fear, anger, doubt, even failure. The whispers in the corridor grew louder, echoing his own insecurities. You are not worthy, they hissed. A human cannot stand among Vril. Eli paused, then took a deep breath. He remembered what Soraya had told him. Courage is not absence of fear, it is moving forward despite it. He walked steadily, ignoring the whispers. He spoke aloud, joking to himself to keep calm. Hey, mirrors, nice outfit. But I still fix things better than anyone here. The illusions wavered, then vanished as he reached the end of the hall. A soft red glow appeared, a small crystal hovering in the air. Eli picked it up. The first trial complete. The second trial tested intuition and intellect. A massive holographic puzzle appeared in the council chamber. Light shifted in patterns too complex for a normal human or even most Vril. The puzzle required recognizing sequences, predicting outcomes and connecting dots across the holographic space. Eli knelt beside the puzzle. All right, let's see what humans are good at. Thinking outside the box. For hours he moved pieces, experimented with energy flows, and occasionally muttered jokes to keep his nerves steady. If I can fix a power core, I can solve this, right? Slowly, the holographic lights aligned, forming a pattern that no one in the council had predicted. The chamber brightened, indicating success. The Vril nobles exchanged glances, some surprised. Eli looked up at Soraya. Done. Your turn to clap, she smiled faintly. You have done well, Eli. The third trial was the most difficult, the test of trust. Eli was led to a platform high above the ship's observation deck. The Vril nobles watched silently as the platform extended over open space. Below, the planet's surface glowed dimly, far beneath them. He was instructed to step forward blindfolded, trusting only Soraya's guidance through the communicator. Eli's heart raced. Blindfolded? In open space? Seriously? Yes. Soraya's voice came through the small communicator in his suit. Calm, firm. Trust me, Eli. Every step you take, I will guide you. He stepped cautiously. The first few steps were wobbly. The platform felt unreal beneath his feet. The whispers in his mind from the labyrinth returned. You will fall. You are not strong enough. You are alone, Eli gritted his teeth. He remembered what he had learned in the labyrinth. Fear cannot control you. He focused on Soraya's voice, on the steady rhythm of her words guiding him. Left. Now one step forward. Steady. Step by step, he moved across the platform. His mind screamed to panic, but he stayed calm. And then finally he reached the other side. The blindfold was removed. He blinked at the view. The crystal he had carried from the labyrinth floated before him, now glowing brighter than ever. The nobles were silent. The glow of the veil stone signified true loyalty and courage. Soraya stepped forward, placing a hand on Eli's shoulder. You have done more than survive. You have proven your mind, your courage, and your trustworthiness. The bond is honored in every sense. Eli looked around at the stunned council. Some nobles were frowning. Others were clearly impressed. High Chancellor Vera nodded slowly. Perhaps we misjudged you, human. You have brought light to the darkness, courage to fear, and clarity to confusion. The bond is recognized. Eli blinked, feeling a mixture of relief and disbelief. So does that mean I get a medal or something? Soraya laughed softly. Your reward is the trust of my people, and the continued partnership of the Vril Dominion. Eli shook his head in disbelief. All this, from a joke I made on a broadcast. Sometimes the smallest words carry the greatest power, Soraya said quietly. After the trial, Eli spent time walking through the ship, noticing small changes. Vril crew members nodded at him respectfully. Officers who had scowled at him before now greeted him politely. Even some of the nobles lingered in his presence, clearly curious. He realized something important. Humans didn't need to fight or dominate to earn respect. Courage, kindness, clever thinking, and humor were just as powerful. That evening, he sat beside Soraya in the observation deck, looking at the stars together. You've changed the way my people see humans, she said softly. I feared their skepticism would never fade. Yet you have proven that one human can make a difference. Eli smiled, feeling warmth spread through his chest. I guess that's what humans do. We're messy, loud, and reckless, but we don't give up. She glanced at him, her crimson eyes soft but intense. And that is why I chose you. He blinked, surprised. Wait, you still chose me? Soraya reached out, placing a delicate hand on his arm. Yes, not because of what you did for me, but because of who you are. You remind us of what we have forgotten, hope, laughter, and trust. Eli felt a strange pride, not in himself, but in the possibility of bringing light into a world that had lived too long in shadow. Later, he returned to his quarters exhausted but exhilarated. He knew the trials were only the beginning. Many challenges still lay ahead. Nobles who might oppose him, distant enemies, and the endless mysteries of the Vril Dominion. But for the first time, Eli felt he belonged somewhere larger than himself. He was not just a joke on a broadcast anymore. He was a bridge between worlds, a human who could inspire respect and awe, even among the most powerful alien warriors in the galaxy. And as he drifted to sleep, he smiled at the thought that sometimes a single bold, foolish word could change the course of history. The stars outside the crimson veil glowed brighter than ever, reflecting a new hope. One human had brought light into the darkness. Eli Moran awoke to the faint hum of the crimson veil, its red glow casting long shadows across his quarters. The past days had been a whirlwind. His accidental proposal, the labyrinth of shadows, the trials of the council. But now, he felt something he hadn't in a long time. Belonging. He stretched, rubbed the sleep from his eyes, and smiled faintly. Somewhere deep in the ship, General Soraya Viale was already moving through the corridors, planning, commanding, and watching over the crew. Eli thought of her with a mix of awe and mild terror. She was beautiful, terrifying, and impossible all at once. And somehow, she had chosen him. The day's mission began with a formal audience in the council chamber. The nobles of the Vril Dominion had gathered again, this time to witness the bond between Eli and Soraya being solidified. The chamber was vast, black stone walls pulsing faintly with crimson energy. The air shimmered slightly as if alive. Eli adjusted his collar nervously. "Okay, humans, don't faint," he muttered to himself. Soraya stepped beside him, radiating calm authority. "They are watching to honor you, Eli. Do not be afraid. Be yourself." He nodded, taking a deep breath. High Chancellor Vera spoke first. "Today we recognize a bond forged not in tradition alone, but in courage, intelligence, and trust. Human Eli Moran has proven himself through the labyrinth of shadows and the veil challenges. He has earned respect among our people." Whispers filled the chamber. Some nobles still looked skeptical, but many nodded slowly, impressed by the human's perseverance. Eli swallowed hard. Thanks, I think." Soraya's red eyes softened. "It is customary to speak, Eli." He cleared his throat. "I think I never imagined a joke would lead me here. I didn't plan to impress anyone or earn respect or even survive the labyrinth. But I guess sometimes life surprises you. I'm just a human trying to do the right thing. And I'll keep trying no matter what." The chamber went silent for a moment. Then one by one, Vril nobles inclined their heads. It was subtle, but the gesture meant acceptance. Soraya smiled faintly, and Eli felt a rush of warmth. After the council meeting, Soraya took Eli on a private tour of the ship. The massive vessel gleamed under its own energy, corridors humming with life. Crew members moved with renewed purpose, nodding to Eli respectfully. Some even smiled, something he had never expected from Vril soldiers, you see, Soraya said softly. "Your actions have changed more than the council. You have inspired my people." Eli laughed lightly. "Me? I just showed them a human can survive without exploding." She looked at him with amusement. "And yet you did more than survive. You brought courage and hope where there was doubt." He scratched his neck. "I just did what I thought was right. Guess humans have a strange way of doing things." That evening, a warning arrived from a nearby system. Reports indicated that a rogue fleet of Karth mercenaries had detected the Crimson Veil and intended to attack, seeing the human alliance as a weakness. Eli's eyes widened. "Wait, they want to fight now?" Soraya's face darkened. "They believe we are vulnerable. We will show them otherwise." Eli swallowed nervously. "And I'm going to help?" "Yes," she said simply. "You understand their technology better than most, Vril. Your insight will be crucial." The fleet approached swiftly, dark ships cutting through space like knives. The Vril crew moved efficiently, but Eli noticed something alarming. Their targeting system had been scrambled intentionally, a trap designed to lure the Crimson Veil into the Karth fleet. He quickly analyzed the system, spotting a pattern. "They're looping their own signals back at them," he muttered. "If I adjust the pulse frequency, I can expose their positions without firing a single shot." Soraya glanced at him. "Do it." Working swiftly, Eli rerouted the energy through the ship's main grid. Red and silver conduits shimmered as the system realigned. The Karth ship suddenly became visible on the monitors, their weapons unable to target the Vril efficiently. "Impressive," Soraya said quietly, watching him work. "You are human, and yet you are indispensable." Eli grinned, sweat on his brow. "I guess humans can surprise anyone." With a coordinated maneuver, the Crimson Veil used its superior speed and firepower to disable the Karth ships. No lives were lost, and the fleet retreated in defeat. The Vril crew cheered, some for Soraya, some for Eli, and some simply because the human had done the impossible. After the battle, Eli and Soraya stood in the observation deck, watching the stars. Eli felt a strange calm. You did well, Soraya said. Not just in the trials, but today. You have shown my people that courage comes in many forms, even from humans. Eli shook his head. I just did what I could, but I never thought anyone would see it that way. She stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. That is what makes you remarkable. Humans have a light that others forget to see. You reminded us of it. Eli felt his chest tighten. For the first time, he realized that being human, messy, unpredictable, emotional, was something to be proud of. In the days that followed, Eli's influence aboard the Crimson Veil continued to grow. He helped optimize energy flows, repaired ancient systems, and even taught the Vril engineers a few simple human tricks to improve efficiency. The crew respected him not because of his strength, but because of his mind, his courage, and his persistence. Even Soraya seemed different around him, softer, more open. Sometimes when Eli told a joke or shared a story about Earth, she laughed, genuinely without reservation. And those moments, small as they were, made Eli feel like he belonged. One evening, Soraya invited him to the command chamber. The stars outside the viewport were brilliant, a tapestry of colors that Eli could barely comprehend. Eli, she said softly, you have done more than prove yourself to my people. You have changed me as well. You remind me that hope, courage, and laughter are as vital as strength and honor. Eli blinked. You're saying, you like me? She smiled faintly. I chose you, human. Not for strength, not for survival, but for who you are. And now, we move forward together as partners. Eli felt a warmth he had never known. Partners? Right, well, I guess that makes us cosmic partners? Star partners? Soraya's laugh was soft, musical. Yes, star partners. Do not underestimate the power of your kind. Months passed. Humanity's reputation among the Vril Dominion grew stronger because of Eli's presence. Trade routes opened, alliances strengthened, and even distant alien species began to take notice. Where humans had once been seen as weak, they were now respected, partly because of Eli Moran, the engineer who had faced shadows, solved impossible problems, and survived the most elite trials of the Vril Dominion. Through it all, he and Soraya grew closer. She taught him the history, culture, and tactics of her people. He taught her laughter, humanity, and small acts of kindness. Together they bridged the gap between two civilizations. One evening, standing on the observation deck, Eli looked at the stars and said quietly, You know, I just asked a joke of the universe. And it answered. Soraya smiled beside him, her hand in his. Sometimes a single word can change the course of history. And sometimes, Eli said with a grin, that word can be a terrible joke. She laughed softly. A joke that saved a people, united two civilizations, and reminded us what it means to hope. Eli looked at her, feeling a surge of pride, wonder, and warmth. I guess humans aren't so bad after all. You are more than humans, Soraya said quietly. You are light in the shadows. The stars outside glowed brighter than ever, reflecting the bond between a human engineer and a vampire warbride, two beings from different worlds, standing together in courage, laughter, and hope. And as the Crimson Veil sailed through the cosmos, Eli Moran realized that one joke, one bold word spoken into the void, had changed everything, not just for him, but for the galaxy. He smiled, looking at Soraya. Ready to see what the universe throws at us next? She smiled back. Always together.